Coming up in a moment here on Channel 5 News, it's a midwinter thaw. There are rising river waters, some dangerous flooding, and some evacuations tonight. We'll have a live report. And at this hour, Chicago police are questioning a man in connection with the murder of a 12-year-old girl.
Thousands of Chicago women are homeless tonight. We will show you how they survive on and off the streets. Carol Marine has a special report. And Mayor Washington has a special Valentine tonight. Details on those stories and much more up next on the Channel 5 News at 10.
You can help a child to a better future by supporting UNICEF.
Live on Channel 5, this is the 10 o'clock news with Ron Majors and Linda Hughes.
Good evening. It was warm throughout the upper Midwest today. Spring-like warmth, but it comes in the middle of winter, and that means some problems. There is a heavy snow melt. Added to that, there was rain through some of the upper Midwest today, and it means we've got rising rivers. The Wilmington area has a special problem because of an ice flow that has formed against a railroad bridge. It is further backing up the Kankakee River. Portions of the river now pouring through downtown Wilmington. There was as much as 2 feet of water in the streets of downtown Wilmington today. Route 53 is cut off through Wilmington, Illinois. Part of the town is cut off. Some residents have fled their homes. Others are being urged to boil water. Otis Buchanan is standing by live with one of the residents who's had to flee that area. Otis?
Ron, Route 53 is now open. The ice jam has broken open, and now the problem is not in Wilmington, but in Wilmington Township. With me right now, Ron Felbo, one of the residents who's been affected. The home behind us is not Mr. Felbo's home, but it's typical of what's going on along Cottage Row here in Wilmington Township. Ron, I know you speak for a number of the homeowners. What's the problem down here?
I think our biggest problem is we either get no help or we get help too late. And even though we all have insurance, I think the government, who is trying to cut our costs, or trying to cut government costs, instead of spending millions of dollars, can spend $20,000 or $30,000 to break up a river and avoid all these insurance claims.
But up until now, that hasn't happened.
That hasn't happened, no.
Ron, thank you very much. Once again, 53 is open. The ice jam has moved beyond Wilmington, but it is posing problems here in Wilmington Township. Homeowners are just going to have to do the best they can for the time being. Many people trying to get back into their homes at this time, trying to get power back on and get some semblance of order in their living quarters. So once again, things are looking a little better in Wilmington. Wilmington Township now catching the brunt of the activity as the ice flow continues to move away from the city. Ron, Linda?
All right, thank you very much, Otis. The snow melt will continue for some time. We've got more warm weather on the way. We'll have Jerry Taft and all the weather a bit later.
In world news today, final preparations are underway in Moscow. That's for the funeral of Soviet leader Yuri Andropov, which begins just a few hours from now. The new head of the Soviet government, 72-year-old Konstantin Chernenko, today led Politburo members into Andropov's wake, even before his appointment as General Secretary of the Communist Party was announced. NBC News will present live coverage of Andropov's funeral in Moscow. It will begin at 2:30 tomorrow morning. President Reagan is reworking his administration's Middle East policy with the help of 2 Arab leaders. Jordan's King Hussein today discussed the Palestinians and the U.S. presence in Lebanon with the president. Tomorrow, Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak is expected to tell President Reagan that he favors the withdrawal of all foreign forces from Arab lands. Sources within the Reagan administration today said that U.S. Marines will be moved from Beirut to ships off Lebanon's coast by mid-March.
The Reverend Jesse Jackson may go to Nicaragua next week to help celebrate the rise to power of the Sandinista regime. Jackson says he'll make his decision about that trip by the end of the week, and if it takes place, the trip would come after the Iowa caucuses. Democratic presidential candidate Walter Mondale campaigning in Rockford, Illinois tonight. Tomorrow he makes an appearance in Oak Park. A new NBC News poll shows Mondale well ahead of his nearest rival, John Glenn. 43% of those questioned prefer Mondale. 22% showed no preference, however. Tomorrow night, we begin our exclusive Channel 5 Sun-Times News poll. Among other things, we'll tell you how the Democratic candidates stack up in Chicago.
Chicago police tonight are questioning a suspect in the brutal murder of a 12-year-old girl. Her body was found this afternoon on Chicago's south side. Rich Samuels has more details.
The body of Sharon McCamdry was found this afternoon in the 4300 block of South Federal, between the building and the Robert Taylor Homes complex where she lived and the Rock Island Railroad embankment. Police came here after they received an anonymous phone call indicating there was a body at the location wrapped in a sheet. Identification was not difficult. Police were already looking for the little girl. Sharon McCamdry's mother reported her daughter missing last night. She told investigators she last saw Sharon playing with friends in the hallway just outside their 11th floor apartment. Whether Sharon was killed here or whether her body was simply dumped here, police do not know.
Her clothing was in disarray, and we have not yet been able to determine the exact cause of death, although it appears that she was struck in the head by a blunt instrument.
Throughout the afternoon and evening, police have been questioning relatives of Sharon McCamdry. Sharon McCamdry was 12 years old and a 7th grade student at the Helen McCorkle Elementary School. Earlier tonight here at Area 1 headquarters, investigators said they expect a break in this case shortly. By that they mean within 24 hours. They would not enlarge upon that statement, but the fact that they speak with such confidence indicates that they are following some pretty good leads. Linda and Ron?
All right, thank you, Rich. It's still to come tonight. Lawyers get raked over the coals by one of their own. We'll have a Jim Rettle commentary and a look at how some Chicago women without homes survive on and off the streets. The Chicago South Loop Planning Board is urging the relocation of the Pacific Garden Mission from South State Street. Board members and several Dearborn Park residents say the thousands of transients who use the mission are responsible for a 10 to 15% rise in crime in the area. The Planning Board, in a letter to the mayor's office, asked for an elementary school to be built in its place. However, officials at Pacific Garden Mission who own the building say they have no intention of moving.
The Pacific Garden Mission is just one place that houses the homeless in the city of Chicago. A growing number in the ranks of the homeless in this city are women. And in part 2 of her special report, Be It Ever So Humble, Carol Marine tells us who some of those women are. Carol?
Linda, tonight we show you 4 women. 2 of them are young mothers forced out of their homes because of the economy and other problems. The other 2 are street women, homeless at an early age because of problems at home, making living on the street their only alternative.
Well, there's nothing good about it. It's just a way of life. And once you get into being a street person, it's hard to get away from it. I mean, living in the streets, you don't know whether you're going to live from one day to the next. I hustled, I stole off people, I got whatever I could to survive.
And hustling means everything from shoplifting to hooking to everything, right?
Everything.
Is there a lot of drinking and drugs on the street?
Yeah.
And you do it?
No.
When Ozzy here tells me she doesn't do drugs and she doesn't hustle, do I believe her?
No.
That's right, Ozzy? Because everybody on the street hustles and drinks and does drugs.
Most of them, but not all. I don't drink. I do drugs.
You do drugs?
I don't drink.
What do you do?
I'm addicted to heroin. I shoot up needles and cocaine and speed and reefer. It's my everyday life, you know. It's like I said, it's my way to survive.
Kim is 20. Ozzy is 21. They're street women, and they're homeless. But Sherry Eccles and Kimberly Ballantyne are, on the other hand, homeless but not street women. They're simply young mothers in search of a home for themselves and for their children.
And sometimes there's no place to go, that's right. It's the first time I've ever been through something like this.
Never happened to you before?
No, and I really didn't expect to ever be in a position like this.
If you didn't have a shelter, where would you be?
I try not to think about that because I really don't know.
Did you ever expect to be homeless?
No, I didn't.
Never happened to you before?
No.
Were you prepared at all for it?
No, I wasn't.
Kimberly and Sherry, Kim and Ozzy, are examples of just how diverse the population of homeless women in Chicago is. That diverse population, according to city officials and social workers, is growing faster than any solutions to address the need. The sisters who run the St. Martin de Porres home on the south side, a shelter for homeless mothers, say the destruction of this wall is testimony to that need. They're expanding to make room for more beds that will be instantly filled as soon as they're available, and still there will be between 50 and 80 women and children they will have to turn away every day. Sister Therese hates that part of her job.
I don't like to answer the phone because when I know there's no room, it's just too hard.
And it's not just Sister Therese who must turn away people seeking shelter. In Chicago, the city counts just over 1,000 beds to take care of the homeless out of an estimated homeless population of between 12 and 25,000. Together, the city and the state are spending $750,000 this year on the homeless. Next year, they say they will ask for much more. But part of the problem is a lack of information. Nobody really knows how many homeless people there are or exactly what they need. At a recent legislative hearing, Gregory Kohler, the new head of the State Department of Public Aid, favored spending $75,000 on a study to better understand the needs of the homeless.
It seems to me that we know a lot less about this problem than we know.
Although city officials seem to agree a study is needed, Sister Connie, the director at St. Martin de Tours, believes the money would be better spent on food and shelter.
Oh, no, I don't think you have to have any research on it at all. None.
Just need money and assistance.
That's correct.
More money to care for the homeless, more jobs so the homeless can care for themselves. The main parts of the solution being offered by those who shelter the homeless in this city and those who govern the city as well. This past January in Washington, D.C., Mayor Washington was called to testify as to the need as he saw it.
The problem, dear Congressman, is nationwide, and it is certainly spreading, not diminishing. We are increasingly seeing women and children among the homeless as the unemployment crisis in our cities continues.
There is no way to categorize the homeless in this country, and there is no way to label homeless women. Some of them are street people whose lives are hardened by their environment. Others are women forced into shelters, unable to find jobs or any other way to feed their children. How hopeful are you? How optimistic a human being are you about solving this problem?
Well, I don't think we'll ever solve the problem.
Do you ever get overcome with despair?
There's really no reason to despair. You know, there's always going to be the poor, there's always going to be the hungry, but by the same token, there are always going to be people who care.
Every day there's more women coming out here in the streets, in the shelters we stay in.